Mark reached the glass building 10 minutes early, even though his shoes still felt damp from the morning rain. He stood under the wide entrance roof and looked up at the company name shining in silver letters. The lobby inside looked warm and bright, like it belonged to a different world. Mark took a slow breath, adjusted the collar of his plain shirt, and checked the time again. His phone buzzed in his pocket. He already knew who it was. At home, Lily was probably sitting on the sofa with her small backpack beside her, pretending to watch cartoons while listening for every sound in the hallway. She was 7, but she understood more than most adults. She knew today mattered. She knew her dad was trying to fix things. Mark did not answer the call. He did not want his voice to shake before the interview. Instead, he sent a short message. "I'm here. I'll call after. Be good for Mrs. Nina." A second later, Lily replied with a heart emoji and 2 words. "Good luck." Mark smiled for a moment. That smile faded fast as he stepped through the revolving door and entered the lobby. The air smelled like coffee and clean floors. The receptionist's desk was made of white stone, and a tall plant stood in the corner like it had never seen dust. People walked past in suits, holding laptops, moving with purpose. Mark tried to look like he belonged, but his hands gave him away. The skin on his knuckles was rough. His nails were clean, but they were the hands of someone who fixed things, lifted heavy boxes, repaired broken parts, and worked in the real world. He walked up to the desk and told the receptionist his name. She gave him a polite smile that did not reach her eyes. Mark Hayes. Interview for operations support. She checked a list, then pointed toward a seating area. "Please wait. Someone will come get you." Mark thanked her and sat down on a gray couch. The cushion was soft, but he could not relax. His folder sat on his lap like a fragile thing. Inside were copies of his work history, a few short certificates from online courses, and a recommendation letter from an old supervisor who had moved out of state. Mark stared at the floor for a second. He had done everything he could. He had taken late-night lessons after Lily slept. He had practiced interview answers while washing dishes. He had filled out forms and followed up on emails during lunch breaks at his last job. Still, he knew how the world worked. Many people saw "single dad" and thought unstable. Many people saw "no college degree" and thought not worth it. They did not see the hours spent solving problems with no instructions. They did not see the way he stayed calm when something broke and everyone else panicked. Across the room, a young man in a blue suit sat with a tablet. A woman with perfect hair sat beside him. They talked quietly and smiled like they were already hired. Mark looked away. Comparing himself to them would only drain him. A door opened, and a woman stepped into the lobby. She looked like someone who moved fast even when standing still. Her hair was tied back neatly, and her eyes were sharp. She scanned the room and landed on Mark. "Mark Hayes?" she asked. Mark stood up quickly. "Yes, ma'am." "Come with me," she said, already walking. Mark followed her down a hallway lined with framed photos. There were pictures of company events, awards, and smiling teams. He noticed one photo with a woman standing at a podium. The same woman was now walking in front of him. Mark realized she was not just an employee. She was the CEO. His stomach tightened. They entered a conference room with a long table and a screen on the wall. 2 managers were already seated. One was a man with a stiff jaw and a sharp tie. The other was a woman with glasses and a notebook open. The CEO sat in the center seat. She did not introduce herself right away. She set a laptop on the table and opened it, her face focused like she had a list of fires to put out. The man with the tie spoke first. "Mark Hayes. Thank you for coming. I'm Mr. Lewis, head of operations." The woman with glasses nodded. "I'm Karen, from HR." The CEO finally looked up. "Anna," she said simply. "Let's begin." Mark sat down, placing his folder neatly in front of him. He tried to keep his shoulders straight. He tried to keep his voice steady. Mr. Lewis looked at Mark's resume with a narrow expression. So, Mark, he said, you've had several positions over the past 10 years. Warehouse tech, maintenance assistant, IT support at a small school, then facility coordinator at a shipping company. Mark nodded. Yes, sir. And no formal degree, Mr. Lewis added, as if reading from a list of faults. Mark had expected that. He kept his face calm. No, sir. I started working early. I learned on the job. Karen glanced at Anna, then back at Mark. Can you tell us why you want this role? Mark spoke slowly, choosing simple words. I want stable work. I'm good at solving problems. I like when things run smoothly. When something breaks, I can usually find the reason and fix it. Anna watched him without smiling. Her eyes looked tired, like she had slept 4 hours for a week straight. Mark wondered how many problems she carried every day. Mr. Lewis tapped his pen. This is a high-pressure environment. We manage systems for multiple departments. We need someone who understands process, compliance, and quick escalation. Mark nodded again. I understand pressure. In my last job, if the loading system stopped, trucks backed up. People got angry. My job was to stay calm and get it running again. Karen asked, describe a time you handled a difficult situation. Mark thought of many, but he chose one that fit. At the school, he said, the internet went down during state testing. Teachers were stressed, students were scared. The IT contractor was 2 hours away. I checked the router, the cables, and the network switch. I found one port was stuck in a loop. I reset it and rerouted traffic. Testing continued. No one lost their work. Mr. Lewis did not look impressed. And you learned that how? Mark answered honestly. By doing it. By reading manuals. Watching training videos. Trying and understanding. Mr. Lewis leaned back slightly, his mouth tight. We're not looking for someone who learned from videos. Mark's chest tightened, but he kept his voice even. I learned from work too. Real work. Karen asked, tell us about yourself outside of work. Mark paused. He knew this question could help or hurt. But he would not lie. I'm a single father, he said. My daughter is 7. I take care of her. I plan my time carefully. Mr. Lewis raised his eyebrows. Single father. That can be demanding. Mark heard what he did not say. Unreliable. Distracted. Will need time off. Anna's gaze stayed on Mark, sharp but unreadable. Mark added quickly. I'm dependable. I show up. I do my work. I don't miss days unless it's truly necessary. Mr. Lewis flipped the resume page like he was already done. And your last position ended 2 months ago, he said. Why? Mark felt a familiar heat in his face. Shame mixed with frustration. The company cut staff, Mark said. They lost a contract. I was laid off. Mr. Lewis nodded slowly, as if that confirmed something he already believed. Karen asked a few more questions about schedules and teamwork. Mark answered in clear, simple sentences. He did not try to sound fancy. He did not use big words. He just told the truth. But the room felt cold. Mark could feel the decision forming in their minds. He had seen this look before. The polite face that said, thank you for trying, while the real message was, you are not one of us. Anna checked her watch. We have a meeting in 20 minutes, she said. Mr. Lewis closed Mark's folder. All right, he said. Thank you for your time, Mark. We'll be in touch. Mark's throat went tight. He forced a smile. Thank you, he said. I appreciate the opportunity. He stood up and gathered his folder. He shook hands with Karen. When he reached toward Mr. Lewis, the man's handshake was quick and dry. Anna did not stand. She simply nodded once. Mark turned toward the door. As he walked, He thought about Lily's message. Good luck. He wanted to go outside, call Lily, and pretend he was okay. He wanted to say, "It's fine. We'll try again." But he knew what another rejection meant. More late nights. More worry. More days counting every bill. As Mark placed his hand on the door handle, a loud beep exploded from Anna's laptop. The screen flashed, then turned dark. A sharp sound followed, like an alarm from inside the system. The room changed instantly. Anna's face tightened. She pressed keys fast. Nothing happened. The laptop stayed black except for a small warning message that appeared for a second and vanished. Mr. Lewis stood up, eyes wide. "Not now," he muttered. Karen looked at her phone. "The board call is in 18 minutes, she said, voice tense. Anna pressed the power button. The laptop restarted but froze halfway. The screen showed the company logo, then stopped. The alarm beep returned, louder and faster. Anna's jaw clenched like she was holding back anger. Mr. Lewis grabbed his own phone. "Call IT, he said. "Get someone up here now." Karen already had her phone up. "They're saying the whole network segment is acting strange. They're dealing with it downstairs." Anna's eyes stayed on the laptop. "My presentation is on here," she said. "The finance update is on here." Mr. Lewis looked at the blank screen like it was a personal enemy. "This is the third time this month," he said. "We cannot keep having this." Mark stood near the door, frozen in place. He did not want to step into their panic. He had already been dismissed. He was not part of the team. But he heard the words network segment and strange, and his brain started building a picture. He had seen alarms like that before. He had seen systems freeze not because the laptop was bad, but because something in the connection was stuck. A loop. A conflict. A device trying to talk to itself. Mark's eyes moved to the cables under the table. He noticed a small docking station connected to the laptop. He saw a network cable plugged in. He also saw a second cable, thinner, leading to a small device near the floor. It looked like a converter or a backup adapter. The beeping continued. Karen's hands shook slightly as she typed a message. Mr. Lewis paced. Anna looked up, her face tight and exhausted. She hated wasting time. She hated looking unprepared. Mark could see it clearly. Mark's heart thumped. He hesitated. If he spoke now, it could go two ways. They could ignore him. They could laugh. They could tell him to leave. Or he could fix it. He could show them he was not just a file on paper. Mark swallowed, then turned slightly back toward the table. "Excuse me," he said softly. The room paused. Mr. Lewis looked at him like he had forgotten Mark was still there. "Yes." Mark kept his voice respectful and calm. "I don't want to bother anyone," he said. "But I think I might be able to help, if you want." Karen stared. Mr. Lewis's face showed disbelief. Anna's eyes narrowed a little, not in anger, but in careful focus. Like she was measuring him in a second. "You can fix it?" Anna asked. Mark did not brag. He did not promise miracles. He simply said, "I can try. I've seen similar problems before." Mr. Lewis opened his mouth, ready to dismiss him. But Anna lifted her hand slightly. "We don't have time to be proud," she said, voice low. "Let him try." Mark stepped forward, and the air felt heavy, like the whole room was holding its breath. He leaned down and looked at the connections. The alarm beeped again, sharp and fast. Mark's mind stayed steady. He did not panic. He had learned long ago that panic made problems worse. He carefully traced the network cable. He noticed it was connected to the docking station, then through a splitter device that looked newer than everything else. That device had a small light blinking in a strange pattern. Mark pointed at it. "What is that?" Karen answered, "A temporary adapter. IT installed it last week for faster access." Mark nodded. His eyes watched the blinking light. It was too fast, almost like it was stuck repeating the same signal. Mark looked up at Anna. "May I unplug it for a second?" he asked. Anna nodded quickly. "Do it." Mark reached out, steady hands, and pulled the cable out of the small adapter. The beeping stopped instantly. The room went silent. Anna stared at the laptop. The screen flickered once, then the system began to move again. The frozen logo disappeared. The desktop returned, and the presentation file popped up as if it had never left. Mark did not smile. He did not celebrate. He kept watching the system for a few seconds to make sure it was stable. Mr. Lewis stood still like someone had taken his voice. Karen's eyes were wide behind her glasses. Anna slowly leaned closer to the screen, then looked at Mark. Her expression changed from stress to shock, then to something else Mark could not name. "How did you know?" she asked. Mark kept it simple. "That adapter was creating a loop," he said. "It was sending repeated signals, so the system froze. Unplugging it broke the loop." Mr. Lewis finally spoke, voice tight. "IT couldn't figure this out." Mark shrugged slightly. Sometimes a problem looks big because everyone is looking at the wrong place. Anna stared at him for a moment, like she was seeing him for the first time. Mark stood quietly, waiting. He could feel his heart beating, but his face stayed calm. He did not want to push his luck. He just wanted them to understand something important. He was not the kind of man who impressed people with fancy words. He was the kind of man who noticed what others missed. And in that moment, the interview was no longer over. It had just changed into something else. Anna closed the laptop gently, as if it was a fragile thing, then looked at Mr. Lewis and Karen. "Give me 5 minutes," she said. Then she looked back at Mark. "Sit down," Anna said. "We're not finished talking." Mark sat back down slowly, placing his folder beside the chair instead of holding it like a shield. The room felt different now. The cold distance from before had melted into quiet attention. No one looked at the clock anymore. Anna rested her hands on the table and studied Mark carefully. Her voice was calm, but there was a new respect in it. "Tell me exactly what you saw," she said. Mark did not rush. He explained step by step, using simple words. He talked about how systems sometimes fail not because they are broken, but because too many connections try to control the same path. He explained how temporary fixes often create hidden problems later. He did not sound like a teacher or an expert. He sounded like someone sharing hard-earned knowledge. Karen typed notes quickly. Mr. Lewis listened without interrupting, his earlier confidence gone. Anna nodded slowly. "We brought in outside consultants," she said. "They checked the software, replaced hardware, ran tests. No one thought to question that adapter." Mark replied gently. "When many people look at the same thing, they often miss the small part that does not belong." Silence filled the room for a moment. Anna leaned back in her chair. "You were about to walk out," she said. "Why did you stop?" Mark answered honestly. "Because I heard the alarm and recognized it. And because I know what it feels like when everyone waits for help that never comes." Mr. Lewis cleared his throat. "Mark," he said, slower than before, "you said you learned by working. Where exactly did you learn to think like this?" Mark folded his hands together. "Everywhere," he said. "In factories where machines stopped and people lost hours. In schools where kids panicked because computers failed. At home when my old laptop broke and I could not afford a new one." Karen looked up. "You fixed your own equipment?" Mark nodded. "If I did not fix it, we went without." Anna's eyes softened, just slightly. She closed the laptop and slid it to the side. "This interview was supposed to be over," she said. "But clearly, we did not ask the right questions." Mr. Lewis shifted in his seat. "Anna, we still have the board call," he said. "I know," Anna replied. "And thanks to Mark, it will run smoothly." She turned back to Mark. We judged you by paper, she said. That was a mistake. Mark did not say anything. He had learned long ago that letting people speak revealed more than filling the silence. Anna continued. This company is growing fast. That creates pressure. Pressure breaks weak systems. It also reveals strong people. Mr. Lewis frowned slightly. We have standards for hiring. Anna looked at him calmly. Standards should serve results, not block them. Karen nodded quietly. Anna stood up. Mark, I want you to walk with me, she said. I want to show you something. Mark hesitated. Now. Yes, Anna replied. Right now. They left the conference room and walked down the hallway. Employees stepped aside quickly when they saw Anna. Mark noticed how everyone straightened up around her. Leadership followed her naturally. They stopped in front of a glass wall overlooking a large open office. Screens glowed on desks. People moved fast, talking quietly into headsets. This is our operations floor, Anna said. Everything runs through here. One small problem can slow hundreds of people. Mark studied the room. He noticed cables bundled under desks. He noticed screens with system alerts flashing yellow instead of green. His eyes moved without effort. Anna watched his face. You already see issues, she said. Mark nodded slowly. Some cables are stressed. Some alerts are being ignored because they are always there. Anna smiled faintly. Exactly. They walked again, stopping near a door marked server access. This room, Anna said, has been our biggest headache. Random slowdowns. Failed updates. No clear cause. Mark looked at the door. May I look? Anna paused, then nodded. Yes. Inside, the room was cool and filled with quiet hums. Lights blinked softly. Mark did not touch anything. He simply walked, observed, listened. After a minute, he pointed at a rack. That unit is newer, he said. Anna nodded. Installed 3 months ago. It is powerful, Mark said. But it may not be balanced with the older systems. It could be forcing processes to repeat. Anna exhaled slowly. That matches the timing of our issues. Mark turned to her. It does not mean it is wrong. It just means it needs adjustment. Anna looked thoughtful. Everyone tried to replace things, she said. No one tried to balance them. They returned to the conference room. Mr. Lewis and Karen were waiting. Anna sat down and looked directly at Mark. You fixed a problem in seconds that delayed us for weeks, she said. You saw patterns others missed. Mark listened quietly. I need someone like that here, Anna continued. But before we talk about roles, I need to understand something. She leaned forward slightly. Why did you not mention these skills more clearly in your resume? Mark answered without bitterness. Because people stop listening when they see where you came from. Karen looked uncomfortable. Mark added, I learned not to oversell. I let my work speak. Anna nodded once. That makes sense. Mr. Lewis finally spoke, his tone more careful. Mark, this role requires reliability. Long hours sometimes. Emergency situations. Mark met his eyes. I plan my life carefully. I do not miss work. I solve problems so emergencies happen less. Karen asked softly, And your daughter? Mark smiled slightly. She makes me stronger, not weaker. The room fell quiet again. Anna checked her watch. The board call starts in 2 minutes, she said. Mark, stay here. She looked at Mr. Lewis. Run the meeting. Mr. Lewis looked surprised. Me? Yes, Anna said. I trust the system now. She turned to Mark. If anything goes wrong, you will hear it before anyone else. Tell us. Mark nodded. As the call began, Mark listened to the hum of the room. Everything stayed stable. The system held. The presentation ran smoothly. Anna spoke confidently to the board. Mark watched her posture change from tension to control. When the call ended, Anna closed her laptop and looked at Mark again. That, she said, was the smoothest update we have had this quarter. She stood up and extended her hand. Mark, Anna said, this company needs people who can see clearly under pressure. I am not interested in where you studied. I am interested in what you can do. Mark stood slowly and shook her hand. We need to talk about your future here, Anna continued. Not as a temporary fix. As part of this team. Mark felt a tight feeling in his chest, not panic, but something close to relief. He kept his voice steady. I am ready, he said. Anna smiled, not wide, but real. This conversation, she said, is just beginning. And for the first time in a long while, Mark believed her. Mark left the building later that evening with a different weight on his shoulders. It was not fear this time. It was responsibility. Anna had not offered a final contract yet, but she had asked him to return the next morning to review systems and give practical suggestions. That alone felt like a door opening. Outside, the rain had stopped. The street lights reflected on the wet road. Mark called Lily as he walked toward the bus stop. When she answered, her voice was bright. She asked one question right away. Did it go good? Mark smiled. It went better than I expected. That was enough for Lily. She laughed and told him she had saved him some dinner. Mark promised he would be home soon. That night, Mark did not sleep much. Not because he was worried, but because his mind kept working. He replayed the systems he had seen. He thought about the server room, the adapter, the stressed cables, the ignored alerts. He wrote notes on a small pad at the kitchen table while Lily slept in the next room. In the morning, Mark arrived early again. This time, the receptionist smiled more warmly. She gave him a visitor badge and told him Anna was expecting him. Anna met him near the operations floor. She looked more rested today, but still focused. Today is simple, she said. I want you to walk through our systems and tell me what you see. No pressure. Mark nodded. That works. They spent hours moving through departments. Mark asked questions. He listened more than he spoke. He watched how people worked, where they hesitated, where they rushed. He noticed repeated work, unclear steps, and small problems that slowly turned into big ones. At one desk, a worker complained that a report took 10 minutes to load every morning. Mark watched quietly, then asked what time it usually happened. When the worker answered, Mark nodded. He explained that many systems were running updates at the same time. A small change in scheduling could fix it. Anna wrote everything down. By midday, Mark had filled 2 pages with notes. He sat with Anna in a smaller meeting room and explained his ideas. None of them were dramatic. They were practical. Balance the servers. Reduce repeated checks. Train staff to notice warning signs early. Anna listened closely. You are not trying to impress anyone, she said. Mark shook his head. I just want things to work. That afternoon, Anna called Mr. Lewis and Karen into the room. Mark is going to help us redesign how we handle system issues, she said. I want him on a trial basis for 30 days. Mr. Lewis looked uncertain. We have procedures, he said. Anna replied calmly. Procedures failed. Insight did not. Karen smiled slightly. I support it. Mark accepted the trial with quiet confidence. He knew trials. His whole life had been one. The next weeks were busy. Mark worked long days, but not wasted ones. He fixed small problems before they became big. He taught staff how to spot patterns. He listened when they spoke, which made them trust him. Some people welcomed him. Others did not. One senior technician named Paul watched Mark closely. Paul had been with the company for years. He knew the systems well, but he felt threatened. He questioned Mark's suggestions in meetings and reminded others of his own experience. Mark did not argue. He asked Paul questions instead. He respected his knowledge. Slowly, Paul softened. One afternoon, a system slowed across 3 departments. Alerts began to flash. Panic started to build. Mark stayed calm. He asked Paul to check one area while he checked another. Together, they found the issue quickly. When the system recovered, Paul nodded at Mark. "Good call," Paul said. That meant more than praise. At home, Lily noticed the change too. Mark was tired, but lighter. He still cooked dinner and helped with homework. He explained his work in simple terms. Lily listened like it was a story. "You fix problems before they get big," she said one night. Mark smiled. "That's the idea." One evening, Anna asked Mark to stay late. She looked serious. "The board wants results," she said. "They want proof that changes are working." Mark nodded. "That's fair." They prepared a review together. Mark showed before and after data. Reduced delays. Fewer alerts. Faster response times. The numbers spoke clearly. During the board call, one member asked a sharp question. "Why did none of our experts see this earlier?" Anna answered honestly. "Because we were looking for complex answers instead of clear ones." She gave credit to Mark without turning it into a show. After the call, Anna thanked him. "You changed how we think," she said. "That matters more than fixing one problem." Still, not everything was smooth. One morning, a major system update failed. Several teams were affected. The pressure was heavy. This time, Mark could not fix it alone. He needed cooperation. He gathered the team and assigned clear roles. He listened to ideas. He adjusted plans quickly. Hours later, the system stabilized. The room let out a breath. Anna watched from the doorway. She saw leadership, not just skill. That evening, Anna asked Mark to meet her in the conference room where the interview had started. She sat across from him, calm and direct. "Mark," she said, "your trial ends next week. I already know my decision." Mark listened. "I want to offer you a permanent role," Anna continued. "Not just support. I want you to help shape how we solve problems." Mark felt warmth spread through his chest. He thought of Lily. He thought of the waiting room, the folder, the rejection. "I accept," he said simply. Anna smiled. "There is one more thing." She leaned forward. "I want you to train others. Teach them to see what you see." Mark nodded. "I can do that." As he left the building that night, Mark looked up at the lights in the offices above. They no longer felt distant. They felt connected. At home, Lily ran to him when he walked in. "Did you win?" she asked. Mark laughed softly. "We did." And for the first time in years, the future did not feel like something to fear. It felt like something to build. The morning Mark signed his contract, the sky was clear and bright. He arrived at the office earlier than usual, not because he was nervous, but because he wanted a quiet moment to breathe it in. The building no longer felt cold or distant. It felt like a place where his work mattered. Anna met him in her office with a calm smile. The papers were already prepared. She explained the role again in simple terms, making sure expectations were clear. Mark listened carefully. When he signed his name, he felt a deep sense of stability settle inside him. It was not excitement that made his hands steady. It was relief. Anna stood and shook his hand. "Welcome officially," she said. Mark thanked her. He did not use many words. He had learned that real gratitude did not need long speeches. That same day, Anna announced his position to the team. Some faces showed surprise. Others showed quiet approval. Paul nodded at him from across the room, a sign of respect that Mark valued. Mark did not change overnight. He did not walk taller or speak louder. He continued to listen, to observe, to solve problems without drama. People noticed. When issues came up, they began to ask Mark early, before frustration built. One afternoon, a young employee named Ben approached Mark with a question. Ben looked unsure, holding a tablet close to his chest. "I think something is wrong," Ben said. "But I'm not sure." Mark did not dismiss him. He asked Ben to explain what he noticed. Together, they traced the issue and fixed it quickly. Ben smiled with pride. "I would have ignored that before," Mark replied, noticing early saves time later. Training became a big part of Mark's role. He held short sessions, not long lectures. He showed people how to listen to systems, how to notice patterns, how to stay calm when alarms sounded. Anna watched the change from a distance. Fewer emergencies. More confidence. Less stress in the building. One evening, Anna asked Mark to join her for a walk around the office. It was quiet. Most people had gone home. "You have changed the culture here," she said. Mark shook his head. People already had skill. They just needed trust. Anna smiled. "That is leadership." At home, life changed too. Mark no longer worried about every bill. He planned small things with Lily. Movie nights. Library trips. Simple joys. Lily noticed the difference in him. "You smile more," she said one night. Mark laughed softly. "I worry less." One weekend, the company hosted a family open day. Mark hesitated before bringing Lily, but she insisted. She wore her favorite jacket and held his hand tightly as they walked through the office. Anna greeted them warmly. She knelt down to Lily's level and introduced herself. "So you're the reason your dad is so strong," Anna said. Lily smiled shyly. "He fixes things." Anna laughed. "Yes, he does." Lily looked around with wide eyes. She saw people greet her father with respect. She saw him belong. Later, Lily whispered, "I'm proud of you." Mark felt his throat tighten, but he smiled. Months passed. The company continued to grow. Systems ran smoother. Teams worked better together. When problems appeared, they were solved calmly. One day, Anna called Mark into her office again. This time, she looked thoughtful. "I want to start a mentorship program," she said. "Not just for systems, but for people who come from different paths." Mark understood right away. "People like me." Anna nodded. "People who learned by doing." Mark agreed to help build it. Together, they created a program that valued experience, patience, and problem-solving. Applications came in from people who had been overlooked elsewhere. The first group started small. Mark met with them weekly. He listened to their stories. He shared his own struggles without shame. "You don't need to be perfect," he told them. "You need to be present." The program succeeded. Turnover dropped. Confidence rose. The company became known not just for results, but for fairness. One evening, as Mark prepared to leave, he passed the same waiting area where he once sat with his folder. A man sat there now, holding papers, looking nervous. Mark paused and offered a kind smile. "Good luck," he said. The man smiled back, surprised. Mark stepped outside into the evening air. He thought about how close he had been to walking away that day. How one small moment had changed everything. At home, Lily waited with a school project spread across the table. She needed help building a simple model. Mark sat down beside her. They worked together, fixing small mistakes, adjusting pieces until it stood strong. Lily looked up at him. "What if it falls later?" Mark smiled. "Then we fix it again." That night, as Lily slept, Mark sat quietly, thinking about the journey. He did not feel like a hero. He felt like someone who had been given a chance and used it well. The world had not changed. People still judged. Systems still failed. But Mark knew something important now. Real value was not always loud. Real skill was often quiet. And sometimes, the person everyone almost rejects is the one who helps everything stand strong. Mark turned off the light and went to bed, ready for whatever problem tomorrow might bring.